A new era begins for the Brock Eagles, and we're here to talk about it. Hello, everybody. Terry Bennett here on the Tommy Hayes Photography, DFW Realty, Brock Eagle Football Show, right here on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media, as the Brock Eagles take their first foray into 4A. A little wordplay there. They're going to be taking on the Decatur Eagles this week. Oh, yeah, Decatur, by the way, they're a 4A Division I team. They've been to back-to-back state semifinals, have a great coach in Steve Huff. So, you know, simple game for the Brock Eagles. They can never make it easy in non-district, can they? And this is going to be a great test. Decatur, obviously a phenomenal program. Steve Huff, and I think this is year 3 for him, has done a phenomenal job there. And Decatur was a very solid program before Coach Huff got there. That's been one of the 4A teams that usually out in that region, depending on if they're in Region 1 or Region 2, you usually get, you know, they're going to get 10 to 13 wins, and they're going to be really, really competitive. They're going to have to replace some this year, but hey, so's Brock. You know, both of these teams come into this first week having to ask some or find some answers to some questions. For Decatur, of course, it's going to be losing one of the most phenomenal backs in 4A in Nate Palmer. He was just an absolute beast, but they still have a lot of talent. They have a really solid quarterback in Jed Ross. They have 2 really solid running backs that'll get looks early, Abraham Graham, Jamari Fletcher, Jake Milligan. So, again, just like Brock, Decatur does not tend to rebuild. They tend to reload, especially over the last few years. And so expect the same this year. And it's a great opening test for the Brock Eagles as they step into 4A. Speaking of that, hey, since you're new to the 4A world, Brock Eagle fans, you should check out our 4A show, Sideline to Sideline. Grant Goodwin and I break down the state each and every week in 4A. Of course, if you know, we do it in 3A and 2A as well. That's a good way for you to get your toe dipped into the knowledge of what is 4A football. It's not a lot different, but it also is a lot different. Of course, depending on size, to me, the difference between 4A Division I and 4A Division II, that might be the greatest divide between the divisions outside of maybe 5A, but really 4A Division I. The difference in a lot of those size programs and a lot of the size programs in 4A Division II are just completely different. But anyway, you can check that out each and every week. We record on Tuesdays. Shows are usually up by Wednesday morning, either on our channel at L4 Media Company or on our podcast channel, S2SGrantandTerry.com. And of course, the show goes out on all podcast platforms each and every week. That'll start next week. Our preview shows are up, but that's only up on YouTube at L4 Media Company. You can see where we picked all 4A Division I and Division II playoff teams. Then we made our state semifinals and state championship picks. I will say, I think you're going to be happy with where we think Brock will fit in, because I think Brock will fit in really well in their first year as a 4A team. And it's odd saying that just simply because, you know, when you look on it on paper, and I actually talked to the coach about this, when you look at it on paper, it feels like, oh, man, Brock's losing a ton, and they are. And you only have like 4 on offense and 2 or 3 on defense coming back. But Coach Mathis will explain why he doesn't think it's going to be that big of an issue. In fact, we'll do all that when we come back right here on the Brock Eagle Football Show on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media. Do you have a kid that plays sports? Are you yourself a weekend warrior? Then I'm going to tell you something. Check out NeuroGuardPlus.com. That's NEURO GuardPlus.com. It's a mouthpiece that can not only help with concussions, but can dramatically affect the way you perform. And the mission of NeuroGuard is to, of course, reduce the risk of suffering a concussion when participating in any contact sport, military, anything that you're doing physical that you could take a blow to the head. You might want to put in a NeuroGuard mouth guard. And as I said, it not only helps eliminate concussions, it helps you perform better by simply aligning your jaw properly. And that sounds like such a simple thing, but it is so important important because it allows oxygen to get to your brain. And when you get oxygen to the brain, you don't have that fog of sports or that fog of war where you get confused. And if you've ever played football, you know that's a sport where that can happen. Especially, man, you're in there in the trenches and you take a shot to the side and all of a sudden things are spinning. This mouth guard will help you keep focus by, again, simply keeping oxygen going to your brain 100%. Again, check them out, NeuroGuardPlus.com. And if you play sports, if you have a kid that plays sport, if you do something physical, one of the things that Dr. Hutchinson, the creator of this, was talking about was some people will use it when they're doing yard work and when they're mowing and things like that, where they're being physically active because they know it helps align their jaw and it keeps oxygen going to the brain, which also helps your lungs, by the way, when you can have full breath every time as you're performing. So again, check them out, NeuroGuardPlus.com.
Hi, I'm Josh Bell with the Miami Marlins. I wear NeuroGuard to help with strength and coordination when I'm in the weight room and help with balance when I'm on the baseball.
Terry Bennett back here on the Brock Football Show, now joined by the head coach of the Eagles, Coach Billy Mathis. And, Coach, this is going to sound crazy because you're playing a team this week that is back-to-back state semifinalist in Decatur, and you have a really solid schedule, but you got to like your non-district schedule this year compared to what you had the last couple years.
I do like our non-district schedule this year. It is we do not have to travel nearly as far as we've had to the last couple of years. So that's a big load off our back, you know. So getting here, you know, the last couple of years, the way the schedule's worked out, because we've had to play some of those neutral games, you know, we only had 4 home games the last 2 years.
Yep.
You know, this year we got 6 home games. So it's nice. You know, on the teams that we're playing, super competitive teams, very excited, you know, this week to go play Decatur. Coach Huff and those guys, like you said, last 2 years been state semifinalists, close to playing in the state championship. So, you know, we're still trying to go out there and play, you know, the best of the best, and Decatur's one of them. So we're very excited about this week.
Now, of course, as I say in the intro, and we've talked about all season, you're making, you know, Brock's first foray into 4A, a new era. And it's one of those weird things that when you look on paper, your team, you think, man, y'all don't have a lot coming back. You have to replace a ton of your defense, a lot of your offense, replace a lot of great players. But your roster is so deep that I don't think that that's going to be as big of an issue as people think it's going to be.
No, it's not. You know, we're very blessed. You know, last year we, you know, had 35 guys on the varsity. We had 24 seniors. This year we got 23 seniors. We got 43 guys on our varsity football roster right now. And the guys, the seniors this year, they are as talented, as excited as the seniors that we've graduated. So, you know, they had guys in front of them the last couple of years that have been 2-year starters, but they got a lot of playing time. It wasn't like they were just, you know, backups. You know, they played, if you went back and counted snaps, they played close to as many snaps as our starters did, you know, the past 2 years. So they're excited. We got a great group. They're, you know, they're excited that it's their turn. So it's going to be a great year. And I think this year looks a little bit different than last year, just for the fact of, you know, last year we had so many returning starters. You know, we started, you know, we were a little bit more crisp last year when we started. This year, you know, we weren't, I won't say as crisp, but, you know, I think our ceiling this year is going to be a lot taller than it has been.
Have you talked to the guys about, hey, you know, you're in a program that in such a short time has such a historical rise, and you've already got all this tradition, yet this class this year is the first in a new classification. Have you talked about to them about, hey, you're getting to kind of create a new era for Brock?
We have, and we've talked about it a lot. And, you know, that's one of the things that they're grasping onto, being the first, you know, group that's going to be 4A. You know, there is no going backwards. You know, we're trying to build off of that tradition. And, you know, the 4A world has welcomed us. And I do think it's kind of wild that they, you know, some of the news guys have ranked us as high as they have, which, you know, it's very humbling and that, but, you know, we've got a lot to prove to 4A. And, you know, we're not just rolling in thinking, hey, we're Brock, you know, we're excited for it. We know we're going to go out and do what we do, but we know we've got to go out and prove ourselves here in 4A.
And it starts again with Decatur. You're on the road. You have a lot of home games this year, but your first couple games are on the road. And as we said, Decatur back-to-back state semifinals, but they're having to reload a lot. When you look at them in their scrimmages, what is your thoughts on them?
Already they're very sound at what they do. They're very well coached. You know, they're a lot like us. I think they're going to line up. You know, they're not changing defensive fronts and defenses week to week. They are who they are. They do a great job of offensively, of very tough offensive linemen, very quick offensive linemen. Their skill guys are fast. What their skill guys do great, they get out there and block on the edge as good as any team that I've ever seen. And their offensive staff do a great job of not only utilizing the field vertically, but they use it as wide as any team that we've seen. You know, they'll get out there and throw the wide receiver screens over and over and over. They're going to take what you give them. If you give them an inch, they're taking it. And coach isn't scared to get out there and call the same play over and over again. So, you know, very physical, both offensively and defensively. So it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a 4-quarter game. And, you know we've got to play sound football against them. It's like playing a triple option team. Everybody's got to do their job. And if we'll do that, it'll be a heck of a battle Friday night.
Offensively for you, it feels like for the first time maybe since you got there that you have a core group that has a full understanding of what y'all are finally wanting to do offensively from game to game.
It is. You know, we're going to get out there and, you know, like always, we're going to try to get up there and set the tone with our offensive line and establish our run game. You know, that's what we're going to do. We're going to get up there and run it. But a lot like Decatur, we want to try to use the field as wide and vertical as we can. And we want to do the same type of stuff. That's what makes this game so interesting. I feel like Hutch and their coaching staff are a lot of alike of the way that we run our offense. You know, our defense, we run a 4-3. They run more of a 3-4. But offensively, I feel like we run very similar style of offenses, and we think a lot of the same too. And what's wild is, you know, there's a couple guys on their coaching staff that have been on our coaching staff, you know, in the past. So that's just another dynamic of the game that makes it fun.
Speaking of that, it's so funny you bring that up because another coach I have a show with, it's kind of the same situation, and we were talking about it. When you have coaches that you're coaching against on another staff, are you ever worried about them giving any kind of secrets, or is that kind of a coach's gentleman's agreement that you don't really do that? How does that work?
No, heck no. They're over there. They're trying to game plan us and thinking, hey, what? You know, I know Mark Zimmer's one of their defensive coaches. He was our defensive coordinator with me when I was at Godley and at Weatherford. And I know he's over there thinking, all right, what is Blake Christensen going to do? I think this is what he's going to do. And the same thing with Joe Merritt. He's on the offensive side. He's saying, what's Coach Mullinex going to do, right? Yes, there's no gentleman's agreement there. We're trying to win the football game. We're trying to, you know, go and get it. But, you know, nobody's over there Friday nights on the sideline going, all right, we're trying to steal their signs, you know, stuff like that, you know. So, no, on that part, no. But the game planning-wise, heck yeah, man. We're all trying to figure out what each other's doing. That's what makes it fun. That's the best part about it. You know, we've had good text messages back and forth this week. So, you know, that makes it all exciting and fun.
For you, in this first year of 4A, what is the thing that you're most worried about for your football team going into the season?
You know, you just don't want to go in there and underestimate anybody, you know, because that you know, and it doesn't matter what classification it's at. You don't want to go in there and underestimate anybody, but you don't, at the same time, you don't want your guys to think, hey, you know, just because we got Brock across our uniform doesn't mean that we don't take anybody serious, right? Or nobody's going to, you know, go out there and, you know, because everybody's going to take us serious. And we don't want guys to think, hey, just because of what's happened in the past, it's going to happen in the future. So, you know, that's where I don't want our guys ever thinking that. Just because we wear Brock across the front, man, Brock's the target. Everybody wants to beat Brock. And for us, you know, everybody, you know, been here before I got here, very well respected program of tough physical football. And that's what we got to keep going. And that's what we preach every day. We don't go lift all these weights and do all this running all spring and all summer just to get out here and do this. We've got to go out and be the toughest dudes on the field. That's what we want to do every game. We want to come out and we want to bring everything we've got, hit them as hard as we can, as fast as we can, and be the most physical football team on the field every Thursday, every Friday night.
Here at L4 Media, we talk high school football, 4A, 3A, and 2A in Texas. We talk East Texas sports. We talk NFL, guy talk, movie, and booze. We also talk wrestling and so much more. And you can see it all on our YouTube channel at L4 Media Company. Like and subscribe. As always, we want to thank the head coach of the Brock Eagles, Billy Mathis, for joining us. It's kind of fun. You know, I've been doing a Brock show for 8 or 9 years. I can never remember exactly what year I started. I think it was 2016. But in that time, I've got to see kind of 2 new eras for Brock. Of course, when Coach Worrell left and Mathis came in, that began the Billy Mathis era in Brock. And now, as a whole program, whether it be football, sport, baseball, basketball, we now get to see the new era for the Brock athletic department as a whole, and that is, of course, stepping into the 4A world. Speaking of, we will have a Brock baseball coaches show this year, and we're very excited about that. More details, of course, as that season gets closer. It'll start in 2025 in the baseball season. But if you'd like to be a sponsor of this football show or that baseball show or both, let me know. You can email me, Terry at s2ssport.com. That's Terry, Terry, at s2ssport.com. You can also reach out to me through my phone. Just text me 469-605-3658 and say, hey, we would like to know information about sponsoring either the Brock football, the Brock baseball, or both shows, and I will reach out to you as soon as I can. We do want to thank our sponsor, Tommy Hayes. He's been sponsoring us for a long time. He also sponsors our amazing behind-the-scenes in sports show called Beyond the Sport, where Tish Lee talks about faith and how athletes and coaches deal with that as they play and how they work it into their lives and work it into their sports world and all that. And we appreciate him being a sponsor of that. He's also a sponsor of this show. You can find him, of course, online, TommyHayesPhotography.com. You can see all of his great work in the Brock Eagle football program. And then, of course, Eddie Washington at DFWExecutiveRealty.com. You can also give him a call, 817-680-9134. Email him, edwash1@msn.com for all your executive realty needs on the Fort Worth side of DFW. DFW Executive Realty would take care of you. They also have regular homes. They have communities. And the great thing is you can go look at not only, looking for property, you can look for communities or featured properties, and you can look for price ranges so you kind of have an idea of what you can and can't do before you start going and looking for your new home. So again, check out Eddie at DFWExecutiveRealty.com. It's going to be a fun start to the season. 2 road games before you get your first home game in week 3. I think this schedule is going to be really interesting. Hey, we play a California team this year. That in of itself is going to be fun. And then 3 4A Division II is going to be an absolute blast this year. We'll talk more about that, of course, as we get closer to district play. But, man, when you look at Mineral Wells and Graham. By the way, we have coaches shows in each of those. You can check them out here on the network. The Cody Worrell Show on Mineral Wells. Coach Cody is former offensive coordinator of Brock. He's really excited to have Brock in the district. And then you've got, Eagle Mountain, a team that's new, that's going to explode in population, and, of course, has the head coach that took Toller to the state championship game before falling to an amazing Timpson team. Coach Jeremy Mullins, this is his first year over at Eagle Mountain. And when I was talking to a lot of 4A Division II coaches at coaches school, and then just through emails and texts, and like talking with Coach Mathis and stuff, they're the team that everybody's like, we have no clue what we're going to get with them. You know, with Coach Mullins, they're going to be really well coached. They're going to be disciplined. They're going to play hard-nosed football. But you just don't know when a new school, and again, look at what Brock did when they stepped into the football world for the first time. But yeah, it's going to be a really interesting and fun district. Graham is stacked this year. And then you got teams like Bridgeport, a new coach, and Bridgeport always has talent. Burke Burnett has some size, though their depth is sometimes an issue. So 3-4A Division II is going to be a blast, and I think this is going to be an absolute fun football year for Brock in their first step in 4A Division II. All right, that's going to do it for week 1. Week 2, we'll talk about it next week right here on the Brock Eagle Football Show, brought to you by Tommy Hayes Photography and DFW Executive Realty on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media, a Brock, Texas company.